All right, everybody. It's that time again. Follow Tonian's coming at you. Episode 187, and it's our last show
What?
on Thursday nights.
Woo! Pet gets to go to bed at the same time, except he gets to play on his PlayStation instead of doing podcasts.
Yeah, it's not like you ever sleep anyways. Eric here in Overland Park, Kansas, Ped in Old Swan, Liverpool. Um, it's just, life sometimes gets in the way of football, and that's a horrible thing. So whenever it comes down to the fact that you can't change life, you have to change football sometimes, and so we're moving the podcast to Sunday early evenings.
Don't establish a
Bedtime.
time, Rick. Do not establish a time. Let's just say
Sunday
Sunday.
sometime Sunday. You'll just have to follow us on Twitter like you always do. You'll have to check out our posts on Facebook.
But I think
We'll let you know when we record. It's going to be a lot more fan friendly, hopefully listener accessible. The live show will be a lot better for everybody except for those in Australia, because who knows what time it is there. I mean,
I don't know.
no one does. They don't even know what time it is there.
I don't know what time it is.
It's like summer break for them right now. That's
But
weird.
it means that people can watch it live on YouTube, because most people don't watch it live on YouTube at what the ridiculous times of people, and people can ask us questions during the show, and we can get a little bit of interaction, and it means then you've got actually all week to listen to it as well before a game, which is good as well.
Yeah.
You haven't just got like the 2 days, or if you listen to it after the weekend's game, then the game's already been played and it's already out of date. So at least this way, you've got all week to listen to it.
I've heard it's actually great listening for walking around in Walmart.
Yeah, loads of people say to me, "Oh, it's great for like when I take the dog for a walk." So
Yeah, why not?
And the amount of stuff I do, there's your week covered for dog walking, basically.
Sure. Or like if you're sitting in an Asda parking lot waiting for a fare, it's good to listen to then.
Yeah.
That's always an option. Always an option. We're just trying to fill that time that you don't have anything to do. You might as well just listen to Follow-tonians.
It's just a service, basically, isn't it, Eric? It's just a service. It's a service,
and it's free. It's a free service.
Yeah, well, maybe we'll have to start thinking about that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be nice to fix Robot Ped for good. Kill that thing.
I think I like it. It's a staple.
It is. A lot of good feedback on Ped's rant from last week. Didn't even really intend it. Didn't play the music. I should have put the music in there.
You should have. As producer of the show, that's something you should have said. Hey, that was Ped. He was having a rant.
Yeah, well, I'm not that smart.
You don't say, Eric. You don't say.
I don't. So,
don't forget, if you are watching us anyway tonight on YouTube Live, there is a Q&A section. Send us some questions in, and we'll answer them on the show, like actually on the show.
And just because we don't
podcast
answer them doesn't mean that we didn't get any.
No, if we get them, we'll generally answer them, just to prove that someone's watching.
But what if nobody's watching?
Oh, well, then they're all listening, obviously, Eric. That's the way to look at it, isn't it?
It is.
It's just a dual service that we offer. It's fine. If no one wants to watch us, that's fine. It's just the way we record. It makes it easy for us. We get to look at each other's wonderful faces, and I get to look at Eric's lovely yellow walls.
Yes, they are. They will go away eventually, but hey, it only took a year to hang up this freaking flag, so what can you do? What can you do? I look like an actual Everton fan now, sitting here.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty great. I like it. It's pretty boss choice.
Mm. Just get on with
So
the show.
should we talk about West Ham?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
We didn't lose.
That
Fantastic.
doesn't suck.
It does not suck. Last almost second equalizer. Pretty awesome.
It was. It was. When was the last time we didn't lose? That just seems so long ago.
Away derby. It feels like Jagielka's last minute bomb from 40 yards.
I'm sure that wasn't the last time we lost, but it does feel like an age ago, doesn't it? It does feel like a very, very long time ago since we didn't lose. So
Villa. I can't. My calendar of events doesn't go back that far. I'd have to scroll back a couple of pages of show notes to figure out.
It was a while ago. It was a while ago. So that doesn't suck. We didn't lose.
Away. I don't know.
It was a while ago. But no.
But hey,
come on.
We're in the cup still. Fourth round draw is looking very, very tasty if we can just figure out how to beat the Irons.
Yeah, well, that's for next week, obviously. But it is a little bit annoying because you get West Ham at home in the FA Cup third round, and you know what? You really should be thinking, that's a win. That's the third round one, regardless. Any other year you wouldn't have a problem, but this year we're on a down, they're on an up, and things are conspiring against us. The crowd obviously felt that way because it stayed away. With only 22,000 going to Goodison to watch this game, it just felt most of the game like there was going to be a West Ham goal and we were going to get knocked out the cup. And luckily enough, it didn't quite happen like that way, but it got pretty close.
Yeah, first half, not much happening in the first half. Ends up 0-0. It just felt like it was going to be, they're going to nick one, and that's going to be that.
But to be honest, I always felt like it was going to be one goal. To be honest, I felt like it was just going to be one goal that was going to decide the game.
Right.
I'm glad.
And with our luck, it was going to be them and done.
I'm glad I was wrong.
Yeah, they drew first blood, that's for sure. A cross in, a header, just
too easy, just far too easy. I mean, going back to the first half, they started the game quite well. Then we picked it up and we had good spells of possession. There was a nice little period where we had a couple of half chances, a couple of balls flashed across the box, a couple of long shots that the keeper spilled, and like if Kevin Morales couldn't quite finish it. But then it would only take one little thing. I mean, there was that period. We were in good possession. The ball gets hit back to Jagielka. He didn't read the bounce of it. He misjudges it. It goes over his head, and West Ham are on the break, and it was just like little things like that just broke up the way we were playing, and that shows for me how low confidence is at the moment and how scared I think some players are of getting the ball because they just feel like bad things are going to happen when they've got it.
Do we dare mention the refereeing again?
Well, I mean, what can you say? It's poor every week. The referee was given just. I mean, it's not even an Everton thing anymore now. The referees. No,
it's league wide. Every match, there's, and it comes down to the speed of play. We've talked about this. It's broken record. But it's speed of play. Yeah. It's instant replays. It's HD cameras covering every single angle. It's goal line decisions. It's everything. I don't know if it's not fair for the referees to expect them to get every call right.
No, I mean there
It's
are
not fair.
basic things. There are basic things that the referees should be getting right and they don't. Maybe their attention is taken away from other things. One thing I would like to see introduced into the Premier League is the officials behind the goals, like they have in Europe. Now, a lot of people will say, well, they're pointless and they're useless and they don't do anything. But I actually do think they do something, and I would like to think that instances like the one against Newcastle would be eliminated by just the threat of having someone behind the goal or to the side of the goal who can make those decisions. And a lot of people say, well, they don't actually do nothing. Well, they do something. They have, they are in communication with the referee. They can alert the referee to certain instances. And I think just them would eliminate a lot of things in and around the box. And that's what we see a lot of problems with. Or they see a different angle on penalty incidents in the box and things like that. And for me, I think that's the basic thing you can change. If you don't want to bring video refs into the league, you can do that. I mean, another thing as well.
More refs.
Well, another thing as well for me. I mean, I wouldn't have more refs, but I'd certainly another thing you could have is linesmen in two linesmen on the same side of the pitch as well. One on either half. And we're not talking about at all levels. We're just talking about, let's say, the Premier League. The Premier League could just make that decision if they wanted to. That's they don't have video technology, goal line technology anywhere else but the Premier League in England. So that's the decision they could make. I mean, you look at it. The Premier League has a problem with talent, losing talented referees because they get to this age limit of 55 where they're deemed not good enough anymore. Well, how about taking those referees and sticking them behind the goal where all they have to do is concentrate on the area? It's a nice little sort of retirement bundle for them, isn't it? It's a nice little little thing to finish there. Instead of having to just retire, why not do that for them? I mean, okay, it might cost more money, but so what?
And if you're worried about them being old and frail and stuff, build them a glass TARDIS, and they can just sit in there and watch the match from there, and they'll have a telephone that goes straight to the referee's earpiece. They can just pick it up and say, "Hey, Lukaku didn't shove anybody in the back on that header, and it should count."
Well, I mean, I don't think we have to go quite that far. I mean, I think a lot of these refs keep themselves as fit as they can, but that for me would be the logical step. I know we don't want to mess around with the rules too much, but surely stuff like that is better than video replays or challenges and things like that where you are consulting the video referee. Surely it's the next sort of logical step because it's already out there. They already use it in Europe. So why not? I mean, they use it in Europe instead of goal line technology. I think that's ridiculous. But there's definitely a place for both these things because I definitely think it would stop a lot of the issues in and around the box. A lot of the things off the ball that the referee doesn't see, and the referee therefore can concentrate on his own thing. But
one thing I don't understand. You're talking about off the ball stuff. Just because the ball's not in play, why is it not a foul?
Well, this has always been a big bugbear of mine. It certainly happens from corners when when
Naismith gets shoved in the back and knocked over because he's trying to hold a spot on the pitch inside the 6-yard box. He's standing there and is constantly getting knocked over.
This has been an issue of mine for a few years as well, especially from corners where they're pushing people out the way and they're unsettling them, knowing that it can't be a foul. I think as soon as that ball hits the the little diamond for taking a corner, the ball should effectively be live. The game should effectively be in play. And if anything happens in that box, a push, anything, it should be a penalty as far as I'm concerned.
Offensive defense. If it's offensively, if an attacking player does something, then you forfeit the corner. You move the ball to where the foul is. Goalie can kick it. Absolutely.
I've said that for a couple of years. It's ridiculous.
It's dumb.
Players are getting away with all kinds, and it's ridiculous because the ball is not in play. Well, that's ridiculous. You're unsettling players. But
the only thing about the UEFA referee behind the goal or on the goal line that really kind of bugs me is they usually set them up on the same side of the pitch as the linesman. I don't get that. It's like, why don't you just hold the linesman's hand at that point?
That
put them on the other side of the goal, and that way they can run that line, and if there's something in the corner that the center ref can't get all the way as far as he can down to, you got eyes that are 5 yards away from it.
Definitely. That's it. I think the person behind the goal has to be mobile. They shouldn't be
Yeah.
stuck to one side. They should be able to sort of like run behind the net and get to the other side. If the
So
ball,
maybe it's like a segue, like an enclosed segue, like Paul Bart.
a
And
little
they can,
track, a little
yeah,
track,
and
a little track,
and so they can, yeah, or yeah, like a little
like a stair lift, just goes along a monorail behind the goal.
mag lift, like a hoverboard.
There you go.
Freaking
Boom. 2015 hoverboard, assistant referee, fourth official linesman behind the goal on a hoverboard. Boom. 2015.
with Google Glass recording it, and then he
There you
can
go.
send that video straight to the center ref, and he can watch it as it's happening from the other referee's perspective.
Just cracked it. We've just absolutely cracked it, and it's so simple as well.
Good night, folks. See you
Such
later.
a simple thing that we've just made there, created. So simple,
If
non-expensive.
anybody invents that in the next 5 years, we're suing you.
Yeah. If anyone invents a hoverboard in the next 5 years, we're suing you. So there you go. Yeah, back to football. We did digress a little bit there.
A little bit,
Yeah.
but I mean, we talked about the disallowed goal for Lukaku, the shove in the back. Absolutely just disgraceful. I don't understand that at all.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm in the Gladys Street, and I seen that straight away. And to be honest, I didn't, and I'm going to be controversial here. When he headed it, I knew it wasn't going to be a goal because I knew he'd fouled him. In terms of modern day football, he put an arm in his back, and unfortunately, that now is classed as a foul, even though it's not really a foul. He, if you,
He didn't extend his arm in any way. It's there as a bracing, just to.
No, I know,
It's
but
more
what he did.
protection than anything. But
No, but what he did was he pushed, because he pushed, because he moved them. What he did was he earned himself a yard, and because I'm trying to say this without.
he earns himself a yard, but because the ball was in the air, it's a foul.
Yeah,
If
that's
the ball
it.
hadn't
If the
been
ball,
kicked yet, it's not a
if the
foul.
ball, no. If the ball had been, if he'd done it, if they'd both been jumping at the same time, right, and then he pushed them, then it wouldn't have been a foul as such. But because he pushes them and then jumps, that's why it's seen as a foul, because he's creating the space for himself to jump, and that's why the referees give it as a foul. And we may not like it, but that's why he's give it, because he's managed to get the jump on the defender by putting his arm in the back, and that's what the referees basically seen. So I was not at all surprised. I seen him put the arm in the back, and I knew it was a foul. I knew it would be given as a foul straight away. So I didn't really at the game find that controversial at all. But just going back to their goal, it's really frustrating how we are conceding so many poor goals. I mean, you go back to Southampton set pieces. You see this goal set piece. You see the one, Newcastle, a ball into the box, headed back, and it's a tap-in. But it's happening all the time, and it's stupid little things. Like, all it was for their goal was two runs. It was the run that pulled Bessage off the post, and then it was the run by James Collins, and that's all it was. 2 runs. It was just it's so easy to do, and it's so poor that we can't defend things like that. And then from the other point of view, it's so poor that we don't keep a man on the halfway line as well, because if we keep a man on the halfway line there, they're not going to be able to fill our box. You know what I mean? James Collins is probably going to have to stay back, or one of the centre-backs is going to have to stay back. This is what I don't understand. I never understood it during Moyes' time either. I can't understand the point of, because even if you win that first header, you are still trapped in your box, and I can't understand that. I've seen teams like leave 2 or 3 players out of the box for corners, because as far as they're concerned, if you the basic fact of defending is, for every player that stays up, there has to be 1 player plus 1 to defend. So if you leave 3 up, there has to be 4 of their players back. So that way there's more space in the box, and effectively they should be easy to defend. because there's less players in the box and more space to win the header in the air. So I mean, I'm not advocating that, but I would like to see one player be left up for corners. It doesn't have to be Lukaku. It just needs to be someone who can, if the ball comes out to him, can hold it and can keep it. So it really, the set pieces really, really disappoint me because we're really poor at defending them and we're really, really poor when we've got them.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it because that's football. That's real football. Set pieces are part of football. We can see goals all the time from set pieces, and you can't just write it off as this thing that doesn't exist. It does exist, and it actually wins teams points.
Yeah.
But it's an advantage that we never ever take. Therefore, you're taking a massive part of the game away.
Yeah, there's some bright spots to this match from Everton's standpoint. Besek looks like he's really coming on, really, really fitting into what Everton's about. He gets it. He really gets after it, and it's a lot of fun to see. It'd be really nice for him to get a full 90 soon.
I thought it was excellent again. I thought I think he's been excellent since the QPR game is fantastic. I know he's done bits and pieces over Christmas. I think sometimes Roberto Martinez is a little harsh on him. I think he definitely should be getting more time on the pitch, especially when you consider how poor Gareth Barry's playing at the moment. But he seems to fit when McCarthy's not on the team. He's now got that role, or he's starting to learn that role that McCarthy was doing. There was an instance against West Ham where they had the ball on the right-hand side attacking the Gladys Street, and Distan held their attacker up, but he couldn't quite get to him. He was holding him and holding him. He was jockeying, and Bess had just come from nowhere and knocked the ball out. And it's little things like that. That's what McCarthy does. It's being that extra man to come and win the ball, and he's been doing that really well. And you know what? His disciplinary record isn't that bad either. It's not terrible at all. It's not a terrible disciplinary record. He doesn't get a yellow card every single game. And his tackling, I think, is getting better. And I think his tackling is not down to the way he tackles. It's just simply because he was having to learn the speed of the Premier League, and he was just getting there sometimes a little bit late.
Right.
He doesn't get booked for things like, for disciplinary things like, opening his mouth or kicking the ball away or getting angry.
He's very, very level-headed. He's very composed. As you said, he's just a quarter step late on some of the tackles. They look worse than they probably are, just because he does go in very strong to challenges.
But I've never seen him do anything nasty or
no,
really.
It's never. I've never. Yeah, I don't think anything has ever been 2-footed or high. It's just been strong and a little bit late.
Yeah, a little bit late, but he's never really done anything nasty or snidey or anything like that. And he does go around the pitch with a bit of an attitude, and fans love that, and they love a good tackle. It can really change the atmosphere of a game, and we need to see more of that, because what we're not seeing on the pitch is leaders. We're seeing the senior players, Barry and Jagielka and Distan, walking around the pitch like they've got a problem. Some of them have got a problem. It's very, very clear. Some of them have got a problem with the way we're playing or with the manager. I mean, it's very, very clear. I mean, obviously, Distan definitely falling out with Martinez, and that seems to have led to other issues, I think. And for me, I would just get rid of Distan. I think for me, he's causing too many problems now. It's clear that there has been definitely some kind of problem in the dressing room, and you look at what's going on and you think he was bombed out and then he had to bring him back because of injuries. But I would just get rid of him, because if he is like a little bit of a bad apple, it can create other problems in the dressing room, and that's the you don't want. You don't want clicks. You don't want sides. You just want a harmony. And I don't think that's there at the moment. And I think, if there are people creating that, then you just get rid. It's as simple as that. Especially if they're a 36-year-old who's coming to the end of his contract. For me, I just phase him out the team. As simple as that, because he's just not helping matters. And you can see that, and it's not good when you are requiring, players like Lukaku and Barkley and Besic, 21, 22-year-olds, to get you out of this area, because, for those players, they're young and confidence is going to be low, and they're going to be the ones hit first. And you can see that with Lukaku when he tries things. You can see that especially with Barkley when he wants to try things and wants to drive on, and he makes these little mistakes, and you can hear the groans, especially on Tuesday night with the crowd being not a big crowd. You can hear the groans, but the lad keeps wanting to do it, and he keeps trying. And I think no one should get on the likes of Barkley's back, because it's him and it's Lukaku who are they're the ones who are gonna get us out of this, and John Stones and hopefully McCarthy when he comes back. They're the ones who are gonna get us out of this trouble. So people hopefully will stick with them, because as we've seen on Tuesday, Lukaku for me was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, another player that looked really good was Oviedo. Oviedo, I thought, played really well. Had very, very much moments of trying to push forward, trying to get involved, trying to do that a little bit extra, and it showed on the equalizer.
I thought he had a mixed game, but I thought a lot of players had a mixed game. But obviously with Oviedo, what you put it down to, the fact is he's not played much football for a year, basically.
Right.
He's played a couple of U21 games. He's played a couple of behind closed door games. The Krasnodar game, he's come off the bench a couple of times. Before he had the screw taken out, and after he had, so he's been all over the place, and to see him play the full game, and the thing with Oviedo was as well, I think this is one of the reasons he was chosen over Garber to play in this game, was he can play with almost without needing a midfielder in front of him, because he's so fast and he's so athletic that he doesn't really need a player always in front of him. He can almost cover the ground that is required by a midfielder. So there was times where I think Barkley started out on the left, but Barkley stayed inside a lot, and
thank goodness
Oviedo could cover that ground.
Right.
And at times it didn't work, but at times it did work. And as you mentioned, he was there in the 90th minute, providing the fight to win the ball and get the ball into the box, aided by Aidan McGeady, to get the ball in the box for Lukaku. So yeah, I would agree. I thought although it wasn't a brilliant performance, it was promising because of all the little things that were coming together. I think it was only the fact that he's clearly not match fit that was the only reason he wasn't 100% all game. But I thought he was well. But going back to obviously Lukaku, I mean, I thought he had a great game. But obviously one of the reasons I thought he had a great game was because of the change of style. That seemed, not the change of style, but at times the ability to change the style that helped them out. And they were getting the ball to him early, which meant he had a little bit more space. He was picking the ball up and he was running at people. And when he was running at people, he just looked so dangerous. He terrified the West Ham defence to bits. And I'm really happy that he got, he deserved that goal. He deserved it so much, and you could see what it meant to him when he scored.
Mm-hmm. Yep, running to the corner, and he's just elated and so pumped up, and yeah, it's very dramatic. It's 92nd minute. It's the FA Cup. It's survive and advance, and in this match we do just barely survive. We haven't advanced yet. A replay next week. We'll talk about that next show. But yeah, the goal. I mean, not brilliant. His first touch is horrible. Luckily, it pops up and stays near him, and he was able to put it in. I'm kind of surprised that a high boot wasn't called and it disallowed, but
that wasn't going to ever happen. That was never going to happen. I thought it was a good goal.
It could have.
I thought it was a really good. There was never any hesitation that was going to happen. I just thought it was a really good goal, and a couple of things for me that were interesting was I thought the back four looked terrified most of the game. None of them really wanted it from the goalkeeper, and Robles was he was telling players to go away and he was going to kick it. And I think what helped us, his kicking is good, his distribution is good from his feet. So I think that helps as well.
Yep.
If you need to go long, his delivery is a lot more accurate, I think, than Tim Howard's is. He's got a way. I seen one. I think it was in the first half. Where he sort of he kicked it out from the ground and he didn't hit it hard and he sort of just chipped it over one of the West Ham players and it landed at one of the midfielders' feet. Really
Right.
good. It was a really good pass. It was a pass that you expect from a midfielder. So I think that's what he's got. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Roberto Martinez likes him, because his distribution is good. So that aided the process. It wasn't just long ball, hit it anywhere. The deliveries actually were going to the people who were intended to.
And apparently we have not seen the best of Joel either.
No, but hopefully we'll see it when he goes on loan somewhere. No, I thought he was all right. He was shaky.
When Marshall comes in.
Well,
we'll talk about that later.
He was a little bit shaky early on. He went for a catch and sort of didn't get it, and he needs toughening up. He really does need toughening up. But, and I'm not comparing them completely, but I remember when De Gea signed for Manchester United, and he was a bag of nerves too. I mean, you could see he was a good goalie,
right?
But he was the same. And I actually remember Alex Ferguson actually took De Gea out of the games when he knew the opposition had physical presence and they were going to put a lot of crosses into a centre forward, and he put Lindegaard in goal for those games. And you look where De Gea is now, and I'm not saying by any means that Robles can become that, but that does show you that even when you're a young keeper, you can still learn. And he does need toughening up, because you've seen that one early on. He went for the catch, and he had the catch, but the presence of the player hitting him forced him to drop it. And that's not the fact that he can't catch. That's just because he's scared. What you got
hold on to it,
What you got to learn is to hold on to it, no matter if someone smashes into you, because that's what happened to goalkeepers. You've got to be smashed. So that's what he's got to learn a little bit. But I thought he did a little bit better. He made a good save in the second half when we just gone 1-0 down. So that was a crucial one as well. But going to the style, it was interesting that Lukaku did an interview with the Guardian saying that spoke to Roberto Martinez, him and some of the players, and said, we'd like to play a slightly different style and we'd like to change it up in the games. And Lukaku was saying that helped me, that helped my game. And then Roberto Martinez just come out in the press conference and said, well, there was nothing, that wasn't like a meeting or anything, it wasn't a special thing, it wasn't like a summit meeting or a crisis meeting, it was just a general team meeting where we just talked about it, and some players said, maybe at times we'd like to do this and it might help. And he said that's something we need to do, and it's no big deal. But it's interesting because it hasn't happened in any other game. So maybe after 4 games in a row getting defeated, that he is starting to realise that you can't play this football all the time. You can't just play yourself out of these dangerous situations. You've got to earn the right to win games, and hopefully that's a turning point in terms of him realising that. Because the funny thing is, last season, especially on the counter attack, we played some of our better football. And if you go back to the early part of the season and you think about the Newcastle game at home, some of them goals were because of just pure long balls from the goalkeeper.
Sure.
So we did it a lot last season. So let's get back to just mixing it up a little bit. It's not going to make us a long ball team. It's just going to make us a more
dynamic
competitive team. Exactly, yeah. So teams come against us and think, well, we don't know how these are going to play today. Whereas recently, it's been quite obvious that everyone knows how we play and everyone knows how to stop us. So we need to, as you mentioned, we need to get a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more unpredictable. because it's become very predictable.
Yep. One last thing I want to mention and get your take on with regards to the game is Jagielka's post-match interview and just how he's held himself, and it almost looks like he. Well, I mean, I don't know. It just was very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned this straight after the game, and you get some people who listen. It really does come down to sort of what your attitude
of it is,
or your interpretation, or what you want to believe, what you don't want to believe, or But to me, I thought he looked like I don't. It's. I mean, I'm just trying to think how to what be afraid. He just looked. He didn't look. We just drawn a home. You don't want him to come off the pitch all smiley, smiley. You think of the
Right.
game,
Yeah.
but
Just because you equalize late at home to West Ham in the FA Cup is not something to be
yeah,
cheery about. And I understand that, and it's kind of good to see that he's disappointed, not okay with that result, and maybe it was just a personal um, you know, feeling as far as how he played personally more than the squad as a whole. But yeah, it just was very uncaptain-esque, very strange, as I said before. It was just very odd.
yeah. But I mean, I said it straight away. The people on the TV said it straight away. The guy who interviewed him, hosting a show, and he actually I found it really strange the way he
Yeah.
was. So it wasn't just how it come across on the TV; it's
So it's
how
not
they
just me.
perceived it
Yeah.
as well,
Okay.
and they found it. No. But some people are like, oh, everyone's suddenly become a body language expert. Now, I'm not a body language expert, but I can see that certain players at the moment are not happy. I've mentioned this already. You don't have to be an expert to know that. But for me, right, he's the captain. I want to see him come out after the game and not necessarily be, oh, I'm made up, we got a draw, or I'm absolutely gutted. But I want him to be the captain of the club. So to stick out his chest and say, listen, we know we haven't been doing well, or we know that's not acceptable, but listen, we did go out there, we did fight, didn't give up. That's what I want to see out of looking at his feet, trying his best to just answer the questions as fast as he can and get out of there. It annoys me when people talk to the media, because when people talk to the media, they forget they're talking to us, they're talking to the fans. That's who they're answering questions. When someone asks them as a question, it doesn't. Sometimes it can be a really stupid question, but a lot of the time it's the question that fans want answering, and people have got to
Right.
remember that when they're answering a question in sport or whatever. And what you wanted to see, I wanted to see, was looking at the guy in the eye and coming across and saying, right, hopefully that'll be the kickstart. It wasn't great. We are really trying to get ourselves. It was just the whole tone of it just seems so strange. Just seems so strange.
Yep.
And as I say, yes, you can read more into it if you want to, but you could clearly see that he didn't want to be there and he didn't want to answer questions. But you expect a little bit more from your captain, and people expect a little bit more out of him on the pitch as well. He has been playing with a bit of an injury, so has Barry, I'm led to believe, as well. But, just if you go into an interview, don't allow questions to be asked about you, because that's what happens straight afterwards. What was going on there? What's he playing at? Where's you go in? And people can say, right, fantastic, Jagielka could ask the question. So doesn't even become a question, because all we've heard in the last few weeks is little snippets, little rumours, and all these little things, and they all add up to each. You get one rumour and it adds to another rumour and adds to another rumour, and all it creates is a disharmony amongst fans, and I'm sure that gets back to the players and the manager as well, whether it comes through from the terraces when the moans and groans, or it gets through via social media or whatever.
Right.
People pick up on it. I mean, if something's on Twitter now, it's going to be in a newspaper the next day, because that's the way the media works now. I mean, half the rumours that you see in newspapers, or half the discussions, are topics that have been picked up from social media. I mean, that's you see it already. There's a lot of clubs now have people who a lot of media and newspaper. They have people who just go on Twitter, and normally they're fans of the club, and they just sit, follow people, watch what the discussions are that people are having, and then go in and write some kind of piece on that. That's
Right.
what happens. You know what I mean? It was no coincidence to me this week that there was a newspaper linking us with David Marshall, when everyone on Twitter who's an Evertonian is talking about David Marshall. I mean, that to me is a no-brainer. You
Right.
know, whether there's interest or not, if people are talking about it on Twitter, that will get back to a newspaper. As simple as that. You know,
Sure.
that is what Twitter has become now. It's made journalists' job very, very easy. You know, you only have to look at things that have happened in the last week, with things like Ched Evans and how that's portrayed. You only have to look at what happened in Paris and how the solidarity of people come through the hashtags, and then very, very quickly people went and done these rallies in the streets. That's what social media creates now. And you will, as soon as you get a rumor or as soon as something happens, that will create a rumor, and that will just spread like wildfire now. So
Yep.
there is a way for me that you've got to hold yourself, especially as the captain, and I think that's why that led to conspiracy theory straight away.
Yeah, definitely. 1-1. We're still in the cup. We're still in the draw, and we just have to now get a victory down at West Ham, and
Yeah,
that's
we
all
always win there.
that's all there is to it.
We always win there.
Yeah. So I don't know what that means. Yeah, we'll take a break. We'll be right back to talk about the Manchester City match.
How long was that?
40 minutes. Nice and short.
Well, this one's not going to be as long.
No, we don't care about them. All right, everybody. You ready?
Yep.
And we're back on Followtonians. Let's get straight into it. Manchester City's coming in. It's my favorite match of the year because it brings me back.
Yeah, Derby.
It's the Eric Derby. It's the Man City at home. It's the Landon Donovan assist. It's the Darren Gibson smash past Joe Hart into the Gladys Streets. It's the limbs and hot cocoa everywhere moment.
Special one, Eric. It's a special one.
3 years, Ped. It's been 3 years.
3 years, man.
It's so sad. It's Hulk sad music. It's that sad.
It is sad.
It's so sad. But it's great memories, great moments. Do we have any chance of repeating those? 1-0. Is there any chance this ends up 1-0?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance. I mean, what better chance to turn your fortunes around than turn them around against the champions? It's going to be a full house. It's a traditional Saturday kickoff. It's got got John Stones in the back. Hopefully, we're gonna have a settled midfield, settled defense. Romelu Lukaku, looks like hopefully everything's gonna come together. They've had injury problems. Okay, looks like Company and Aguero will be back, but will he be that fit?
Will we see Bone?
No, because he hasn't signed yet, and he's going to.
Okay.
But something's got to turn around sooner or later, and you just really hope it's this game. And their form hasn't been brilliant over Christmas. I mean, they've obviously reeled in Chelsea now, and they've the backup, to the league, and they do it. They're very sort of unglamorous the way they do things as well. They've been playing like James Milner up front. They've over the last couple of weeks they've lost a couple of leads at home. They've been 2-0 up and they've been pulled back to 2-2. So it shows there is a little bit of complacency there. There is a bit of a weakness at the back. They went behind against Sheffield Wednesday in the cup as well. So the defence isn't brilliant, and I think if we can get a goal against them and get the crowd up, then that'll be massive. Saying if we can go 1-0 up, I hope it's a bit of a feisty affair as well. Get the crowd into it, get the crowd up for it. I mean, that's something we haven't had for Goodison. At Goodison this season is like a really, really good atmosphere. We haven't had any nasty atmospheres where we're intimidating the opposition. It would be nice to have one of them as well.
Yeah. It seems like it hasn't been that long since we played them.
No. We were cheated not so long ago, weren't we? So
yeah.
But I just think that's I think that this could be the game. I'm not writing it off. Another thing I think what's important as well is if we do go 1-0 behind, that the fans stick with the team. They stick with the team because that was evident on Tuesday night. We went 1-0 behind, and the fans didn't just switch off. The fans started singing and sort of got behind, and we went on from that point. We were a little bit shaky after the goal, but we went on. So I'm just hoping that if the worst thing happens and we do go 1-0 behind, that the fans get behind the team and we keep going, we keep pushing, because there's been too many times recently we've gone 1-0 down or we've gone behind where the players have just thrown in the towel, and that can't happen because after the City game, okay, we've got West Ham, but then we've got two massive Premier League games. We've got West Brom at home and we've got Crystal Palace away, and it's essential that we win those games because they are teams that, whether we like it or not, they are teams that are around us in the Premier League, and the only way we're going to get away from those teams is by beating them.
Beating those teams,
beating those teams. But it would be really a big bonus if we could get something against City. It would be a massive bonus because then you can take that into the cup game, and hopefully confidence will grow from there. But things have got to start changing soon, and no better time than playing against Manchester City.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's so hard to sit here and we're like 2 days away from the match and have any idea what a lineup is going to be, which is just so frustrating. I would imagine for everybody involved. We don't know the status of John Stones 100%. We think he's going to be back. Rumors McCarthy's injury may have been figured out, and maybe he's can play a role, or maybe he needs a little bit more time. Morales looks like he's okay, possibly past his couple of injuries. Oviedo's looking better. Baines has had a knock and sat out and is slated to be back. It's just there's so many moving pieces right now, and we need to start locking down some of these spots and get some consistency. We got to figure out a center back pairing. We've got to figure out a spine. We've got to figure out and get these people in matches together consistently, and not you can't swap out and 7 people. You can't make 7 changes and expect to play any sort of coherent style of football.
I think the team will be pretty similar to the one that played against West Ham, except for I think Stones will start instead of Distan. I think that means I think that means Jagielka will play on the left-hand side of the centre-backs. I think probably Baines will start. If Baines doesn't start, I think actually Garbett might start left-back and not Oviedo.
Who plays in front of him?
I think it'll be likely to be
because I'd like to see Oviedo in front of him. Put Morales on the right.
Do you know what? I was discussing this today, and this is we've got 3 really good left-sided players now at Everton. Garbett, Baines, and Oviedo.
And I figured out how to slot any of them into a winger position.
Exactly, and I don't see any reason why. I mean, I was even talking today about the fact that all 3 of them could play. Baines could play midfield, Garbett could play left back, and Oviedo could play left midfield. But I don't see any reason why, because left midfield has been such a problem all season. Pienaar obviously struggling. McGeady's been played in there. Morales at times been playing there. Obviously we've seen Ross Barkley stuck out there at times, and that's just not a good fit. And I think at some point he's got to look at playing Baines with Oviedo in front of him, or there's numerous combinations there for the three players. So I think that could happen. But I think Ross will probably play on left side of midfield, like he has been.
Boo.
And I think Barry will play, Bessage will play, I think Naismith will play, Morales will play, and Lukaku will play. I think very, very similar to the. I think he's got to stop chopping and changing. I think he's got to get with a settled team now, because it's only harming the team by changing it every week. I mean, it's ridiculous how many amount of changes there's been. We're getting a little bit more of a. I know we've still been, we're still having, weekend and midweek, but it's getting a little bit more settled now, and I think that he's got to start, picking players week in and week out because we're suffering. So hopefully, it'll be our strongest team. Stop messing about with the team and just leave it be for a few weeks anyway in a row.
Yep, I agree with all that.
Good.
It'd be nice to get 3 points too.
It will be, and as I say, I'm not writing us off. No way. I think we've definitely got a chance in this game. I just hope as I mentioned, just hope it's a fiery affair and we're up for it, and we get out the blocks early.
I just hope it's a fairly officiated.
Well, that's something that's not within the controls of us, of the team, is it? So, we just get on with it. We just have to just get on with it.
So yeah, you want to talk about new head of medicine at Everton?
I haven't got a clue who the new head of medicine is. All I know is that he has been at the club for a few years. And he has took over from Danny Donahue, who left a couple of weeks ago. I think we discussed that, and he has basically took over his job. So continuity-wise, it's someone that was already at the club, already someone who Roberto Martinez knows, and I think Roberto Martinez is just looking for some kind of. I don't know, he's just looking for something to improve. I mean, we've suffered 20 hamstring injuries in the last 18 months. Mm-hmm. Leighton Baines has picked up one now. So it's there's something wrong there. I mean, we don't know exactly what it is, and I don't really want to speculate about what it is. But they've brought in Matt Connery to be the new head of medicine. So all we can do is hope that something changes. What can you say? I mean, I'm hoping as well. I mean, they've established that. Well, basically, he's come out and said McCarthy's injury has now been
finally diagnosed.
Figured out. I mean, I don't even know what that means, but it's been figured out anyway. One of the problems he said is that he trains too hard, so maybe that's going to have to be sort of looked at. But they've established what it is, and that's I think, as Roberto Martinez has said today, that's sort of like the first step. Now that they've established what it is, once they get him back fit, then that should be the problem sorted, which is encouraging, because I actually remember when Duncan Ferguson was always getting injuries. I mean, obviously his whole Everton career was blighted by injuries, and it's something that's actually in Mick Rathbone's book. The ex-physio, whatever, and he said, they could never figure out why he kept on getting like hamstring injuries and problems with his, with his back and stuff. And he basically said that he said he knew some guy in Holland that had something that happened, and he'd come up with some new theory of, and he sent him to him in Holland, and he did an operation, and I think it was something like a trapped nerve in his back, something that was causing all these problems all over his body. Because as you can imagine, if you've got a problem with your back, then you start changing the way you walk and everything, and all your hips get out of shape and your knees get out of shape and all the rest of it. And
I think we can make an analogy with that to Everton. We kind of have a problem with our back, Ed.
Yeah, maybe that's what it. But
we get out of shape with our hips and our knees, and
we just need to find that one problem. But once
what? Oh,
what now?
Yeah.
Once Ferguson had that operation, he never got like any injuries again. He never got any injuries, and you just think, imagine if he'd had that operation 10 years beforehand. Oh, that would have saved so much problem. So I'm just
Right.
hoping now that McCarthy's got this diagnosis, whatever it is, that's the end of his problems, and we now see him. Once he's fit, then he'll be fit, and he won't be suffering with whatever has been causing him all this trouble.
Are you saying we need like a dystendectomy or something?
That's a new one.
Transfer rumors. David Marshall. It'd be nice to get a keeper soon. Another keeper on the books soon. Heaven forbid something happened to Robles soon. In the meantime.
Well, Marshall's an interesting one because we've spoke about it before. I've mentioned it for months on every different show I do. We've mentioned it plenty of times on this show. Simply because he was a goalkeeper that impressed me last season when he played against Everton. He played against Everton for Cardiff, and I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was a really good goalkeeper. So that he really impressed me. So so he's been rumoured now, and I believe there is genuine interest with him.
Sure, he's in the Championship. Why would he not want to go to a side in the Premier League? One, that's in Europe, and two, has some obvious deficiencies at the position he plays.
Well, and the manager's already stressed that whoever comes in would be, a long-term one. So
he's not buying just as a short-term stopgap duct tape, fix.
Yeah, and I think that what is he's 29, so you're getting him in his peak years. You're getting him, at the right time. I don't think he cost a fortune.
Keeper, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Cardiff are going. I think probably 4. But before over maybe a couple of 4 or 5 years, I don't think he's, I don't think Cardiff are going anywhere in terms of coming back to the Premier League. So that's a bonus as well for us. They're not pushing. I think one of the problems is I think Marshall missed the game at the weekend, and I'm led to believe he may have a hernia problem that could keep him out for maybe 4 weeks, requiring operation. So if that is the case, then that might be the only issue. But if you're buying a goalkeeper for the long term, what 4 weeks? You know what I mean? That's not.
We'll have Howard back by then, maybe.
Well, see that, and then that's the thing, isn't it? You say that, and you say, well, if it's only 4 weeks, then if you're going to have Howard back, but then he said he wants a long-term goalkeeper, so he's obviously identified that the fact that he wants to have competition for that number one, he obviously feels that he needs a new number one. So that's encouraging. That's definitely encouraging. But we'll wait and see on that. I think there's been the bookies have suspended the betting for some places here, but a lot of the time that's just because rumours are so strong on social media. So so I don't really buy into that kind of thing.
And it might be because they don't know the extent of his injuries too, and it might be to where he wouldn't even pass a medicals.
It comes down to a lot of times with bookies is that rumours do get around the internet and a lot of people put bets on it, so therefore they think that a deal is going to be done, so they obviously don't want to lose money on it, so they close the book. So but we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see on that one. But it's encouraging anyway. It's encouraging, and hopefully we can get it done.
Anybody else out there we're linked with? Possibilities? It is the 8th of the month. January is going to be over before we know it, and it would be nice to get some reinforcements.
To be honest, there's not that many that I can really think. There's a couple of names floating about, and but there's nothing concrete. Personally, I would like to see us get another centre back and possibly a left sided midfield as well. I know we spoke about
a Milner or.
I think Liverpool are going to get Milner, to be perfectly honest. But I think that left side is somewhere that we need to be. We haven't replaced Pienaar. It's as simple as that. We haven't replaced what Pienaar Pinar gives us. So, but you know, there's
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
there's
Lefebvre scoring for Sevilla, so he needs to. Yeah,
well, that was only a league games, cup game, so who
right.
knows with that. I don't think anything happened with him anyway, simply because of Barcelona and this their problems with obviously not being able to sign people. So I don't think they're gonna be looking to get rid of anyone at the moment. One name that's been linked away from Goodison is actually Samuel Eto'o. I know apparently Sampdoria
Sampdoria. Yeah.
are sniffing around them. And do you know what? I mean, I don't necessarily know if it would happen now, but it wouldn't surprise me if he moved on in the summer. It really wouldn't. And I think if the right offer came in for him now, it wouldn't actually surprise me if he left the club, just because I don't know. I don't know. I just think if you know, I just think if there was a good offer, I don't think it did stand in his way.
Is it just that he might be an unnecessary luxury right now? That he's good, he's not great, he's taking up space on the pitch. I mean, it's really hard to say because there's moments of brilliance. There's I mean, he's made some of the most fantastic passes we've seen at Goodison for a while. Some of these passes he picks out to Coleman and to Lukaku and to Osman that just are fantastic. It's just I hear what you're saying. It's hard to know
I don't think he's done
what's
anything
right.
wrong, and certainly, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, he's been fantastic in some games. It's just I don't know. It's almost like as you meant. It's a luxury, but it's not a luxury in terms of. It's just a luxury in terms of. I think we expected to be higher up the table, and we expected him to play in a certain way, and
Right.
because of the kind of the player he is, we just can't really afford to use him in that way in the games. I mean, he came on against West Ham, and I thought he did okay, but I don't know. I just get the
Audio.
sense.
Yeah, I would like him in our squad. I like him. There's a lot of stuff that he should be able to teach Lukaku,
Mm,
and there's a lot of teaching moments. It's just it would be nice if we were winning while that
mm.
was happening, and
Yeah,
we're not,
yeah,
and so it's
yeah.
just hard.
Yeah, I just, as I say, I just get the sense that if a good offer came in for him, that maybe be tempted. Um, we'll wait and see. I mean, because he doesn't, you know, he doesn't really play. He doesn't really play up front anymore. He plays in this sort of outside the box, sort of trying to create chances.
Right, which is kind of like a little bit Naismith, a little bit Barkley. So
Yeah, yeah,
he's taken up the the place on the pitch that other players we think have other players we know have a longer shelf life and need to get playing time in those positions to get better.
yeah.
It's
I don't know.
it's just hard.
You know, it's fantastic. I love having him at the club. You know, you know, I don't know. Something inside me just thinks that if there was an offer, if an offer came in and it was the right offer, the club might look at thinking, well, does this suit the player? Does it suit us? And I get the feeling that it might. I'm not saying it will. Do you know what this is? I don't want anyone to think that this is some kind of inside knowledge. It's not. It's just a feeling I get. I'm just putting two and two together, and I'm
right.
thinking, just think because he's not the kind of player who he hasn't moved over here or anything. His family. I think his family live in Paris. That's his general base of operations, and he flies home every 3 days. He just jumps on a plane from the airport and go. It's only an hour to go back to Paris. So
Right.
I know that's the life of a footballer, I suppose. So
And then some listeners may have missed the Christian Atsu. He's off to the African Cup of Nations, so he's gone for who knows how long, if he even comes back.
Well, I think actually Roberto Martinez has said today in the press conference that when he comes back, he would like to use him more. So we'll hang fire
I
on
would
that
like
one.
to be able to trust him so that we could use him more.
Yeah, so we'll just have to hang fire on that one because we won't know till he comes back.
Right.
When he comes back, we won't know what kind of state he is, and maybe the fact of him going and playing games, because this is a guy who played in the World Cup and scored a goal in the World Cup. So maybe if he goes away, plays some games, gets some game time, is fit, that who knows? I mean, it might help him. So we'll wait and see on that. I don't think Chelsea are in any rush to get him back because I know it's been mentioned before where people have said, "Oh, he needs to play games because at another club and they want to loan him out." But have you seen anything from Atsu so far that would suggest he would get anywhere near the Chelsea team? Because
No.
I have seen absolutely nothing. He is a player that they picked up cheap and will sell on at a profit because that's what Chelsea are in the business of doing now. That's what they're doing with for FFP. That's what their answer is. So
own as many players as you can and sell them for more than you buy them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So So apart from that, I mean, there's not many rumours going around at the moment. It's disappointing. We all like a rumour. We all like to hope that our club are looking, but we're in that position at the moment, and I think I've mentioned this before, where to actually strengthen the team, you have to go out and buy really good players, and they cost 20 million or so now. So that's the level we're at. We've already seen that with Lukaku. You want to go and buy a player, it's costing you 28 million. If you want to go and buy a decent centre midfielder, it's going to cost you 15 million. If you want to go and buy a decent left midfielder, it's going to cost you 10 million. This is where we are now. It's a dangerous place almost.
It's the silly season, and it's stupid money, and at least we're in the position we are now, which is different than just a couple of years ago, where in January, looking at our position in the table, and we're worried about selling Pienaar, we're worried about losing Arteta, we're worried about just not being able to keep a hold of these players that are so integral to our squad. I don't think anybody is worried about losing Morales. I don't think anybody is worried about losing like a Coleman, where in the past Coleman's name has been linked with quite a few other clubs.
Well, as you say, at the moment, this doesn't seem to be that. We're not too worried. We're not looking at a Strach and Drenthe situation now. But what is interesting, Neville Southall said today that he thinks that
sell Barkley. Yeah.
Well, he didn't say he thinks that we might end up in a position where we're selling one asset for 50 million is better than maybe losing 2 or 3 players if you want to strengthen it. That to me is just an absolute no. I don't want to sell Ross Barkley. I don't think there's a reality. I think if we have to sell Ross Barkley for money to strengthen, then once again questions.
We're doing it wrong.
Questions would need to be asked why, with all this TV money knocking around, and we are in the richest league in the world. And then people would have to start asking questions, what's going on, do you know what I mean? So hopefully we're not at that situation. Ross Barkley doesn't seem to have any interest in leaving the club at the moment. I know a lot of outside forces would love to see him leave the club and go to other clubs that are in the Champions League or whatever, because that suits their narrative and that suits the hunger that is out there in the media for stories and such. But leave him at Everton. Let's hope he fulfills his dreams at Everton, because that's what any Evertonian would want, to play at Everton and win trophies with them.
Maybe we can just get Robert Earl to host a rave and Justin Bieber headline to raise money to buy players.
Been a bit disappointed with Justin this week. You know, he didn't even mention the draw with West Ham. Really disappointed.
Yeah.
Didn't even mention it on Twitter. So yeah, some fan he is.
Okay. Crap. Horrible. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Last show on Thursday. Check us out on Sunday. We'll tweet it out. Let everybody know when we're going live. More interaction, more fans, maybe more people on the show, more guests, and just more. More is more, Ped.
It is.
So thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later. Come on, you Blues, let's go.